how yoga changed my life from my early life onwards. So, as I've spoken in other videos, I was introduced to yoga from a young age, around 8 or 9 years old, and I took it up into formal practice from the age of 10 when I got the Science of Yoga 30 volume edition, and I went through every volume trying to practice all the different aspects of yoga. And it gave me, to me, what seemed to me unbelievable and highly remarkable results. So in this video, I'll discuss that. So I would like to ask you a favor. If you like the contents of my video, please do not forget to also like and subscribe. It's going to greatly help my channel to be able to reach out to more people. And if I could ask you even a greater favor, if you could share it to just one other person or even just one social media channel, this will be amazing. And also put in your comment so I have an idea, what how it's what's the feedback I'm getting, what you feel about it. And for those who don't know me, I am Osman. I'm a bioenergy healer on a master level with telepathic healing capabilities, specializing in critical care recovery and terminal illnesses, amongst a host of other physiological, psychological, and even spiritual ailments. To that end, I have a amazing special offer. I have an 10-minute anxiety fix for just $5. You can connect with me through my website, yogawellness786.com, because I deliver this telepathically for you to experience at at the cost of less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks. What telepathic healing anywhere in the world, wherever you are, you can get it instantly. And I'm also an advanced level yoga and meditation teacher, having been practicing this art form for almost 50 years, and teaching for 44 years. And in that period, I've studied under various masters from different schools of thought, from different cultures, Eastern, Far Eastern, Middle Eastern, and Western cultures, right? And gleaned out what I felt is, the essence and what is effective and powerful in my experience, and my teaching experience as well, and created my own unique protocols, a combination of those, right? Nothing, a few of the protocols, of course, is unique in terms of the steps and the procedures and so forth, because I try to simplify things, make them adapted for the 21st century, making them faster, quicker, more efficient, time effective, and results orientated. To that effect, I now have students in over 100 countries, and my favorite protocol is the 5-minute yoga and meditation program that I created, which you can download for free from my website, yogawellness786.com, where in exchange for subscribing to my blog, and where you can get more information about my services. Also remember that my therapies are all natural based and not a replacement for medical treatment. So how yoga changed my life? So I mean, it was something exciting, interesting. I had various motivation factors. It looked like something I'd never seen before. I never seen anyone, do those type of postures in my life. I was born and brought up in South Africa. It was very westernized country, and this type of things was not easily, available. Later, I found that it was very limited practice, very rare to find someone who knew about it, and very little knowledge on it as well. But as I was practicing it, I started, I was initially exposed to it when I was around 8 or 9 years old, and I went into formal because I got a gift, my mother to buy me a 30 volume Science of Yoga edition, and in addition, a lot of other books, over the years that I've, purchased and studied. And by the age of 13, I was the top of my yoga class, and I was, handed over the teaching position from my teacher to me, because I seemed to be all round well, knowledgeable and able to perform all the postures, and had seemed to have more knowledge and capability than him. And from that time started my teaching experience. But I didn't expect. It was just something very fascinating for me to be able to do that, something that other people couldn't do. It like made me feel different that I was able to do it and be good at it. And I used to struggle in school, and I noticed that as the years were passing, from around 10 years old, I started to do better and better, in school. I think at the age of 10, because I started 7 or 8 years, and then by the age of 10, I started to do it more, you know, uh, uh, seriously. And by the end of that year, I won a book prize for third highest in the standard, right? So, oh my God, this is unbelievable because I was not even in the intelligent class. They had four different classes, right? A, B, C, and D, right? It's possible there was a E class as well, right? In my standard. And I was in the D class. So they put the most intelligent in A, the second most intelligent in B, third most intelligent in C, and I was in D. And even in that class, I wasn't one of the brightest people there, right? And then from the following year onwards, after that year of starting my yoga practice, I was always in the A class until or the most intelligent class until I graduated high school. And of course, when I went to the A class, the competition was much higher. It was very difficult for me to even come out. I was coming out in the 20s in a position, ranking academically in marks. I mean, over 20 some odd people were, getting better results than me. But as the years went by, I was coming out like 17th, and then 13th, then the top 10, and then in the top 5. And then I was winning I think the year before I graduated high school, I won the book prize for highest in the standard for physics, right? Imagine that, right? And of course, before winning the prize, before I could choose physics as a subject, in um, senior primary or junior high, in junior high, the final year of junior high, our science teacher gave us um, a test to teach us a lesson, about how difficult, science could be. And I got 100%, for it was based on physics, and I got 100%. And he was in his early 40s, and he called me out in front of the class and shook my hand, and he said it's the first time in the history of his teaching experience that someone got 100% for his test. And he was really felt that I had a lot of potential, and he was proud of me. And the same thing happened when I was 10 years old. The teacher, he called because I made the teacher proud, because someone in his class reached the third highest, in the standard. That means it's an attribute to his teaching capability. And he called me in front of the class and shook my hand, that I'd won the, I think it's the second best or third best, if I'm not mistaken, in the standard. And I remember his hands were reeking of tobacco smell, and he was reeking, and I had the tobacco smell, and I felt very like embarrassed, but also amazing, right? And so, not only academically, I used to also attend martial arts, karate, the Japanese martial arts. And I didn't think I was any, better than other people. Yes, I used to train very hard, and I used to love the training. And I remember we used to be pushed, in the push-ups, right, to do more and more sets. And we used to do sets of 50. And we were like 11, 12 years old, 13 years old, right? But I and the leg lifts and sit ups. So our core was very strong and our arms were very strong, right? And we're doing so. I reached a very high ranking level, and I would say, equally strong as other people. I didn't think myself very different. But what I noticed is, no matter how hard when we were sparring, if people hit me, I felt nothing. I was like an iron, right? They can kick me in my core, right? Where it is very sensitive for regular people, and you get winded and you can fall. I used to feel nothing. I was very strong. I could take any punch, except from the trainer where you feel slightly winded, right? He used to come and kick it hard, when we're doing a leg lift, to walk over us and to test how strong our core is. And he used to test it on everyone. So but I mean, never make us cry or winded. It's like we could feel the impact of that, right? An adult, this thing. But in school, when I was in high school, anyone could punch me, in my core, and I'm taking it normal, right? I can take the pain, and I know the bully of the school felt that his status is being, questioned, and in order not to lose respect, he challenged me as well, and he punched me full, in my core, and I was fine, and it was my turn to punch him, and he went unconscious, right? He turned yellow, and he went unconscious, and he was frothing from the mouth, and I thought he had died and all that, right? And I was so afraid that I'm going to get arrested and go to. I was more arrested. I'm going to go. Not about police. That I'm going to be taken to the principal's office and my name put in the black book, not thinking that I'm going to go to jail. But of course, he was recovered, and it took him the whole of the break. It was a long break, 45-minute break, for him to recover. And he was like totally yellow in color throughout. He had to sit in class for the rest of the break. And so I had amazing strength. I had occasion once, I gave someone a slap. I was around 18 years old, and he said something offensive, to a lady. And I gave him a slap because I didn't, he should ought not to speak to a woman like that. And he fell and went sliding on the floor, and the wall stopped him. Right? Even I was surprised because I only gave him a slap. Right? I wanted him to, just stop and not do that. And those were the only two, blows that I hit, and I never touched any person because I was afraid because maybe I might harm them. So I attribute this to the power of yoga, because yoga which I found out later, right? I didn't know at the time. I just felt that something is different. I was very strong, and also very intelligent, right? I used to perform. It was very easy for me to study and get distinctions. And even later in my life, in my 40s, I had to do some board examinations, for one of my businesses. So I had to write 5 different board examinations to get into that industry, to get certified in that industry. And I had the highest in the country because I had 100%, for every level. And I was noticed by one of the blue chip companies in my country, and they offered me a position automatically as a manager. I just thought I'll get a junior position. This appointed me as a manager position, without any question, just from my results. And I created an innovative system for that particular client where we were situated, where I was a manager of that particular, we were outsourced company. And if we could, impress the company, it was a major pharmaceutical company, probably a Fortune 500 company, and it was newly based, in our country, and they were reluctant to, give the contract, but they said they'll give it a try for 6 months, and if it's, which is unlikely, they felt unlikely that they would renew it further. They gave us a chance because the owner of this company that I work for and the CEO of the pharmaceutical company were friends. Okay, we'll give you a chance. And I impressed, I created a unique protocol reporting method that was so satisfactory. It was a multi-million dollar contract. It was awarded. For getting that particular contract, I was given a position as a director for our company. Given there were 3 other directors, I was automatically given director level, got 25% share in a company that had over 1,000 employees, and all its clients were, Fortune 500 companies, like Caterpillar, L'Oreal, and the like, right? Basil Reed, was very major companies, in our country. Those are the type of contracts, this company commanded, and I was given a director level position there. And I attribute all this to yoga, that because when I reflect later on, when I created protocols and I changed people's athletic performance, and I found people able to find the soulmates, and I found, even myself, I went to the highest level in any industry or field that I went into. and I usually reach the top because I normally do things with full passion and full dedication, and I don't care what the obstacles are, what the struggles are, and I didn't put money first. I just put my service first, and to be, offer the best possible service to the company and the people in the company. Like even in this company where I was given the directorship, my work hours officially were from 8 to 5, and but I reported for duty at 5 a.m. because it was a 24-hour company that had 12-hour shifts. The shifts changed at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Right? So I wanted to be there before shift change and get to know all the people in the night shift and all the people in the day shift. You must know 1,000 employees. Surprisingly, my memory function was so good. I remembered all the names. I knew every person. I knew the background, the family. When I spoke to them, and I changed the ethos of the company and the feeling, and the company really improved. One person can make such a difference in it. And by building the relationships and opening the lines of communication, and my phone was open 24/7 to anyone who had any complaint. I wasn't even a human resources manager or anything. They had a human resources department, but they came to me, and I took the matter up, and made sure that their wrong was righted, right, and changes were made. And I took the problem seriously, and I made sure that they were satisfied with the solution, even if it meant that they had to meet some terms halfway and so forth, and that everyone was happy. They knew when they could complain to me, right? So I noticed I had good communication skills, which I attribute to yoga, amazing strength, right? Give you an example. As recently, when I turned 50 years old, and I used to always be practicing and teaching yoga into the open field, and there were other people working out with weights and so forth, right? And there was this young guy, very well built and very wealthy as well. He could afford all the amazing supplements, and really pushing weights that I could not even imagine pushing that levels of weight. Maybe if I tried, and focused on it, I could have, but that wasn't my thing. And there was a challenge for plank. How long. So he didn't even want to challenge me because I'm 50 and he was 19 years old. And I said, okay, you go first, whatever amount that you reach, because I haven't done plank seriously before or anything. So I wanted to see what he can do, and let me try to see if it's possible for me to beat it. So yeah, he failed at around 5 minutes, which is normal because he's not practicing plank normally. He's just doing normal, weight training, exercise well, but not practicing plank. Even myself, not practicing plank. So just after around 5 minutes, he failed, and then stayed for that full 5 minutes plus another 2 minutes more, and then he said, "Okay, okay, I concede. I could not have done that," and I could still picture that amazement in his eye and that astonishment. How is it possible? He cannot understand. And I didn't know I had that thing. So until recently, about 2 years ago or so, uh, when I was assisting one of my friends who owned a hotel, an accommodation establishment, and I used to challenge the young people. I used to meet, the guests were mixed martial arts, professional mixed martial arts guys, and I beat all of them, right? There was one guy who was like really like wired up, and he's not a training or a fitness guy or something. He was like determined to beat me, and he was like really vibrating and shaking. And I conceded the win to him, and I mean he won it. He stood. It just I didn't expect. I was very casual because no one could normally beat me, right? So if I knew, I would have went more prepared. And there was someone else among the group at that time who could have very easily. He was from Korea, South Korea, and he told me secretly that if the challenge was there and he had the opportunity to challenge me, he'd very easily beat me, because from childhood they are practicing plank for 1 hour a day, from young children, and this is something easy for them. 5-10 minutes is nothing for him. He can stay an hour, and I never stayed an hour, right? Maximum was like around 10 minutes, where I had no more competition, and I didn't want to stay longer. There was no need for me to. I didn't want to learn. And even when I work out my fitness regime, I normally do 5,000 crunches 1,000 squats and 500 push-ups, in my fitness sequence. My yoga teacher told me that we should not neglect fitness exercises, that yoga is not fitness. Yoga is different. Yoga is bring the energy, the prana, or the life force energy in. Fitness exercise takes it out. Fitness is to develop our muscles and our physique, and yoga is to develop our inner strength and our vagus nerve, our uh, parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems, and our internal organs and so forth, but not our external muscular system that we need, and our cardiovascular. We need to do cardiovascular training as well. So I took up jogging, was my passion, and fitness, and I went for a while into body weight exercises as well, with dumbbells and so forth. Found that to be amazing. But due to my traveling schedules, I couldn't take my weights with me every time. And every time I landed in a new place to buy all the weight equipment again, it was, and then I'm going to keep moving, and then eventually I was sticking to fitness. So from a fitness perspective, what I'm telling you, what my protocol is, right? 5,000 people say, man, I didn't know that was abnormal. One day I watched someone, doing leg lifts, and he was crying, to reach 50. I said, what do you mean? I can do 200 easily, right? And because I normally do in sets of 200, 5 different variations of the crunch, that makes it 200 of each variation, and that makes it 1,000, and 5 sets of that, right? Is 5,000. I said, I do minimum 200. He said, no, because he was looked like a, hunk. I was 50, 50s, early 50s, and he was early 30s, would say, early 30s, young man, newly married. And then he said, okay, let's see you do 200. And I was doing, and then he's counting, I reached 100. When I reached 156 and carrying, he said, no need for more. I can see you're doing it so easily. You're not even suffering, right? And not even reaching failure, right? Reaching, 200. And he stopped me, at that point. So that's when I know. And the only thing different I was doing is yoga throughout. Yoga, and then in my adult life, I refined pranayama and meditation. These were in my 30s, that I refined all this. And I only cracked pranayama, the secret of pranayama, I think in my late 40s. What's the amazing the secret of pranayama and the protocol. And I developed the protocol and I'm teaching it, to my students. So it's not uncommon for my students to have an out of body experience within 1 to 2 days. Those who engage my, advanced yoga lessons. And also not uncommon for my students to reach the breathless state where in meditation, you're not perceiving, we're not saying not breathing, not perceiving the breath. They felt like they're not needing to breathe and very comfortable, and so calm and relaxed, and the breath is like almost, so obviously it's not zero, because that's a different story, right? But we say reaching the breathless state, right, in the yoga field, which even people, and that was just a 20 to 30 minute daily protocol, right? Just doing 20, 30 minutes a day and eating an omnivore diet, right? But I encourage them to have like at least 70% whole foods, from a plant-based source, and, cut down, the meat sources and so forth, to have more balance, and fresh, wholesome plant and, fruits and nuts and so forth, that are not cooked and overly cooked, and, salads and so forth. So this really helps, the internal energy. So how did yoga change my life? It made me to be, which yoga teacher can say, across the board, I'm meeting people from France, from Australia, from Germany, Italy, right? And these are my students who don't have any background in yoga or meditation. These are Caucasian people, original cultures from their respective countries. And the one lady, French lady, she said she never even thought in the imagination of a life she would ever practice meditation. And I encouraged her and I made her to like it in just like a few minutes. And she just practiced a few minutes and she sat and she actually enjoyed it and said, the one thing that I achieved is someone would have dreamed of ever doing meditation. And she was a young lady, a 22-year-old lady from France, right? Amazing, amazing woman. amazing young lady, should I say. And she, did it. And, I encouraged and influenced a lot of people, number one. Number two, I performed very well academically that I could not have imagined. I was accepted to any field of study that I wanted to, right? Accepted into medical school, into law school. These are some of the schools that are very difficult to get into, especially the medical school, right? Any field that I wanted to get into, I was able to get into. And whichever field I got into, I normally reached the number one level in it, eventually. And the biggest challenge was when I went into commercial real estate brokerage in the Middle East, in Dubai, where there's over 10,000 agents. Competition level is very high, but put shoulder to the wheel and I struggled. And after 9 years, I believe I was in my niche, in my field, because I specialized in premium commercial real estate brokerage, selling five-star hotels and premium retail spaces to rent, where the commission started from in the millions of US dirham, UAE dirham, right, upwards. And people were handing me that type because I was the best. They normally exhausted every other person before coming to me. Even when I did regular rentals, commercial renters, office spaces. I was renting every week. People were struggling to do, one lease agreement in 2 or 3 months, right? And I was doing about 1 to 2 every week. I didn't have any cash flow problems. Even with small money, it was like, big money. Even when I did virtual office spaces for rent, where you make the reason the people take virtual office is because it's so cheap, and I still made more than the industry average. In terms of agents, I made like 40, 50,000 dirham only from that, in commissions, in a month. And definitely, I know there were people who were better than me in communication skills, but in terms of consistency and profitability, in a annual basis, I was consistently, earning well. So earning well, doing, making good money in business, intellectual level, physical strength, communication capability. Last year, okay, now I'm blind for the last 2.5 years. And during the COVID period, all the negative happened to me, lost my business, everything, went back to zero and starting again from scratch, and got no money, assisting a friend in a hotel in the reception, and blind and old, right? 50 something, 50 plus, right? Now I'm 56, last year I was 55. I had 25 marriage proposals last year. How many people can say they got marriage proposal from a woman? It's very difficult. Normally men are running after women. It's very rare for a woman to propose to a man, right? And this is a common thing for me. Women love me a lot. My communication ability, they feel I understand them. And must know I don't look like someone whose looks going to get him the blue-eyed blonde hair type, right? And but I can get I had the most amazing and most beautiful woman in my life, right? I remember I had this one woman and a friend, it's my ex-wife, and friend of mine said, Osman, how can you marry such a woman? I'll be I could not marry such a beautiful woman because I'll die of jealousy. I will be in panic all the time because if everyone was going to turn around and look at her, right? She looked like she was 16 or 17 years old. And I kept reassuring she's 30 years old and she was divorced and had 3 children as well. But she looked like a Barbie doll, really refined features, porcelain skin, and amazing, like more like a Russian woman's features, right? She was a Middle Eastern woman, um, but amazing beauty, right? And so to be able to get even the wife before that, I mean, people used to turn around, just what did a woman like that see in a man like me, right? So to speak. And it wasn't just the money, because money was ups and downs, right? There was many down periods, right? And then suddenly I started to make money, and then go down, up and down. So it wasn't more about the money. Yes, money helps a lot as well, but more with communication and building, winning the heart of people, right? So So all around, yoga assisted me. I'm giving you so many in a story form how yoga is. I'm not saying A, B, C, D, E. I'm giving you incidents, in my life and amongst my students. And there were two people very remarkable. Um, One was an Australian lady, and she was around 32 years old. And I mentioned to her, you just do the simple protocol every day, just 20 to 30 minutes, right? And you will even get your soulmate. And she didn't believe me. And within the 12-month period, she told me, remember you told me I'd find my soulmate? I found the most amazing guy, and met him in Canada, and he's prepared to give up his country and everything. I mean, not like he's leaving a third world country, he's leaving a first world country, and not to go to a better country. I mean, Canada compared to Australia, you like downgrading, right? No offense to Australia, but I mean that's North America affiliated with America, right? So it's gaining its some more status due to its neighbor being the US. So usually you get products that are sold in US and Canada, targeting the both together as one, like very often as one nation. So considered in some way like uh, the brother or the sister of the US. And he left that for her, and she was amazed. Found a soulmate, another guy. He was a Greek guy, I think around 38 years or something. And he told me he just couldn't find luck with relationships, and with women. And I did chakra and blocking to him for him, and he was very scared. He said it really didn't do anything for him, right? Which was a lie. But I said no. But you told me your meditation is like amazing, like every fire. And he said, yeah, but I can't. I don't know if it was you. I said, but before me, it didn't happen, right? Yeah, maybe all that. When I called him for something, 6 months later, he said, hey, I forgot to tell you, Osman, I'm married. And he never want to attribute me being, the one that changed his destiny, right? But this is happening to so many people. They're finding, their soulmates, and their lives are changing lives, forever, right? In a positive way. So this is what yoga did for me, not only for me personally, for those that I cared about, my students and those that came to me, to learn under me. And of course, these are, results may vary, and, not indicative of every person who's going to be able to do this thing. But it's something that really amazed my life, and I'm giving to others, and also create amazing changes in other people's lives as well. So I hope that information helps you. Take care of yourself always.